Hey kids, my name's Andrea and I'd like to read you a story today titled I Am Benjamin Franklin by Brad Meltzer. I am Benjamin Franklin. I come from a big family in Boston, a really big one. I was the youngest boy with 10 older siblings and 2 younger sisters. That's a lot of people in a small house. As a kid, I loved swimming so much I tried to figure out how to swim faster. First, I studied the problem, then I started to experiment. Look at him go! My next swimming experiment was with a kite. Once we got the kite into the air, I ran into a nearby pond. Floating on my back, I waited for it to pull me across the water. If you're willing to experiment, you can learn something new and use it to improve things. At 10 years old, I got my first job working for my dad making candles and soap. It was hard work, really dull too. Hoping to find something I liked, my dad showed me many different jobs. I liked seeing all the ways to make things. The world has so much to discover. But there was one thing I liked most of all, reading books. At 12 years old, one of my favorite books was this one, Plutarch's Lives. It taught me that our individual actions could change history and make the world better. That means that history doesn't just happen by itself. It's written and built and improved upon by people like you and me. Since I loved reading and writing, I went to work for my brother James. He owned one of the most powerful tools in the world, a newspaper. My brother's was the first independent newspaper in Boston. It's called a free press. And I wrote that no leader should have infinite power. I wanted to be a writer too, but my brother wouldn't let me. So one night when I was 16, I wrote an essay and slipped it under the door of the newspaper. I used different handwriting and a fake name, pretending I was an old woman who lived in the countryside. Mrs. Silence Dogood? I've never heard of her, but wow, can she write? Let's print it. That's how I became a published author. Eventually, I decided to forge my own path, to write my own history, and I headed for the big city. Here's the big city, Philadelphia, my new home. On the day I arrived, I saw a girl, Deborah, in front of a house. And he said, "Eventually we'll get married." She said, "What?" I came to Philadelphia for a better job and a better life. I found both, but the number one thing I worked to improve, myself. In order to be a better person, I wrote new rules to live by, my very own plan for future conduct. This included stuff like, tell the truth, work hard, don't speak badly about other people. That's an important one. To sharpen my mind, I even started my own club, the Junto Club. We discussed the great questions of the day, like, if a government takes away the rights of its citizens, is it okay to fight back? My most vital work came from my job. In Philadelphia, I opened a print shop for my own newspaper, the Pennsylvania Gazette. I was a champion of the free press, printing many different opinions. People will always have disagreements. That's not a bad thing, says Benjamin Franklin. Remember, if you listen to just one side of an argument, you won't have all the important facts. You won't be able to make an informed decision. Every year, in addition to the newspaper, I also published Poor Richard's Almanac. Now, in this almanac, there were such sayings like, haste makes waste, and no gains without pains. My real goal was to help my readers be better people. If you want to improve the world, you need to start with yourself. Over time, I made a newer and bigger list of virtues to follow in life, 13 in total, including sincerity, which is meaning what you say, justice, which means treating people fairly, and humility, which means not bragging. I tried mastering them all at once, but it was impossible. None of us is perfect, but we can all keep working to make ourselves better. Throughout it all, I never lost my love of learning and discovery. I observed how people got sick and became one of the first to figure out that colds are contagious. I did experiments also to prove how dark colors absorb more heat than light ones. My theories of how storms move was the start of people predicting the weather. And let's not forget my most famous scientific experiment. Can you guess what that is? Electricity. Back then, people didn't know exactly how electricity worked. By observing it up close, I discovered that when there's a positive charge or energy of one type, there's also an equal negative charge or energy that holds the opposite. It was a massive scientific breakthrough. I also noticed that terrible fires were being caused when the tops of church steeples got struck by lightning. There had to be a way to make things safer. Let the experiment be made. At the time, I'd been waiting for a local church to finish building its steeple so we could put a metal rod up and test it. They were taking so long that my son and I decided to try it ourselves with a kite. In June 1752, on a cloudy night, we put a pointy wire at the top of a silk kite. Then we tied a key to the kite's wet string, hoping it would show us sparks after the lightning hit the wire. People think I was an old man by then, but I was only 46 and my son was 21. When the clouds first passed over, nothing happened. But Benjamin Franklin said, "Give it time, almost there." And then his son saw the key. Looks like lightning's hitting the key there. "It worked," said Benjamin Franklin. "Instead of hitting and burning the kite, the lightning was attracted to the metal." Soon after, the world's very first lightning rods were installed in Philadelphia. To this day, rods around the world have prevented millions of fire. Here's another picture, the kite string with the key. And then some other folks saw the lightning striking. You can almost see some kind of a spark coming off the string here. Of all my experiments, perhaps the most important one was this, the American experiment. Back then, the United States didn't exist yet. There were no states, just 13 colonies, and all controlled by King George III, who was treating us unfairly. We shouldn't be ruled by a king. We should be our own country and make our own rules. In 1775, the American Revolution was beginning. I was elected to the Second Continental Congress, where we voted for the 13 colonies to join together and fight as one against the king. Thomas Jefferson was selected to write a document that would declare our independence from England. In it, we'd tell the king what kind of country we hoped to be. People who lived here would have certain rights to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Jefferson asked me to read his first draft. I made a number of changes, including this one. Instead of, "We hold these truths to be sacred and undeniable," what if we changed it to this? "We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. Through history, it has always been true. Nothing can stop a good idea." In my life, I worked hard to improve things, including improving myself. That doesn't come easy. When you're trying to improve things, there will always be a risk of failure. Don't let it stop you. By learning from failures, you will make progress. New ideas are like lightning. They can appear instantly, striking from nowhere with staggering power. That power is yours. Use it wisely, and you'll change the world. Did you know that he also helped start a fire brigade, a corps of night watchmen, his own college, and the first ever subscription library? No matter how famous he became, though, he continued to sign his name, B. Franklin, printer. And here you can see everyone talking about him. I was a printer, a writer, an inventor, a scientist, a scholar, a founding father. You don't have to be just one thing, but you do need to be a good person. You can always improve yourself. You can always improve your world. There are countless ways to do it. Look for problems that need solving. Experiment and find solutions. Help the people in your community. And of course, use your voice. Speak up and speak the truth. I am Benjamin Franklin. Improve yourself, improve the world. And that's the end. Thanks for reading a book with me. Bye.